allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call?
Trustee McGurran?
Yes.
Trustee Young?
Yes, ma'am.
And Trustee Blower is absent.
Administrators updates. Lori Cobb.
Good evening. I would like to inform the board that this closing for the sale of the properties at the end of Morgan Lane is scheduled for Monday morning. And other than that, that's the only update that I have.
You'll be there and everything's taken care of for that?
Yes.
Where does that money go, Julie? Is it a general fund?
It's general fund, and it will probably be sale of unused. It's the same one that we do, I think, for property, like for gov deals. I think that's where it is. I might have to investigate, and we've not requested to use the money, so it essentially will just go into the carryover. Unless we determine we want to use it, then we'll have to do an amended certificate to amend the revenue and appropriations budgets.
Did we already pay for the vehicles from Trenton?
Yes, they were budgeted in the police budget this year, so.
Okay, good. Fiscal officer updates.
Well, I had nothing, but now I do. Police Chief Gerhardt, let me backtrack. As far as the radios go, we're pretty much in compliance. We did some patches and upgrades on the existing radios that we have, and that we're being told that they will continue to work even through the multi-factor authentication in July of 25. There is some question as to whether that's true or not, but in any way, the prior chief had ordered some radios. They're due to come in, and it was budgeted. It's fine. But we have been borrowing 4 radios through Butler County Sheriff's Office with the understanding that it would be likely to be budgeted for us to purchase them in 2025. Chief Gerhardt came to me and said, is there any way we can find the money to buy them now? He'd rather have them because some of our radios aren't lasting for shifts. People are having to come back, change out radios. The radios we have, although they may continue to work, Motorola will no longer service them. We have enough spares, and we have enough parts, but finding someone who will fix them and maintain them. But we think we're going to be okay. However, he would like permission to go ahead with the 4 through the Sheriff's Department. This is a fraction of the cost of what they would. I think they are more like $5,000 a piece, and they're selling them to us at $3,600. So we have the money. It's in the carryover budget that we encumbered in and appropriated. So we have it. So do we pay it now? Do we pay it later? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if we have no qualms moving forward, because it isn't budgeted, I need at least 2 signatures to move forward with the purchase of those radios. And then that way we'll have 4 more that are guaranteed to work and that are guaranteed to be maintenance.
What happens with the old ones?
We'll just keep them. Between fire and police, we do have enough that we will potentially have them if we can find somebody who could work on them. The other thing is, in the Butler County Township Association meeting last week, Matt Franke made a comment about, I don't know if you caught it, about haven't really gone down the path with your road crews. And that was the first time the word road and radios in the same sentence. So I've talked to both chiefs, and they believe that we have enough in surplus that we could provide 3 to the road departments. And they talked about what channels they could be on. And they said, well, is there a need? And well, yeah, in a major storm and when they're plowing, there is a need. Sometimes they have to come plow out an accident so that first responders can get through. We've had that argument before with the state of Ohio that road crews are first responders because they're usually out clearing the roads for any kind of rain or wind disaster, so that our folks can get where they need to go. So they both agreed that it would make sense for the road crew to have access to the radios. So it's a conversation we probably need to have with Superintendent Buelek to let him know that they're available.
Would his department then be in charge of maintenance and or using them, or is that?
We can talk about that, but I think the big thing is just we have enough in surplus that
Okay.
we can use them.
Yeah.
I know we don't really have, and that's pretty much all I have for you this evening, but I am going to go ahead and talk a little about the pending legislation that we need to do this evening. In front of you, there are a couple resolutions that are going to come up. The first is the 150,000 that we received from the county that we are now going to subgrant to RAM and G Foods. We need to amend the certificate for that and the appropriations budget so that we can do that. In the meantime, for full disclosure, I'm going to go ahead and provide them the money up front out of the general fund. But once the amended certificate comes through, I'll do a utility and pay it out of the ARPA fund. But that way it gets the money into the hands of RAM and G much sooner, since they have such a short window to use it anyway. The second item I have for you tonight is we're already in an agreement with Medi-Account Management Incorporated. We have a contract with them and they pursue our payments for EMS transport. They're primarily just going after insurance companies to get the payment for the transport. Typically, we budget about 150,000 of income on that annually. For example, in 2023, we budgeted 150,000 where we actually collected 200,000. So Medi-Account does a good job on our behalf. A large portion of what they're going after in the insurance money is Medicaid, Medicare. And the way that works is it's kind of like a matching grant. The state of Ohio reimburses us 1/3 and the federal government reimburses us the remaining 2/3. That's how we get the money on the Medicare. Medicare and the federal government have made entities aware that there is more money out there. Unfortunately, with this matching, the state of Ohio is at its absolute saturation limit with what they can put into the pot for Medicare reimbursement. So while they acknowledge that there is more money out there to be had, Ohio doesn't have any more money. So they are doing a supplemental contract, and there's another party that's going to work with Medi-Account. But basically, we would be asked to pony up the 1/3 to get the 2/3 back. So they think, and we have to opt in by October 1st, which is why we're bringing it for you tonight. Chief Johns went to a seminar on it. And then he and I have followed up with a conference call last week to the representative who we would be working with. And basically, it would be no different than what we currently do with Medi-Account. We currently create a purchase order every year to pay their fees, and they collect $200,000 for us. Just so you know, the fees that we paid last year to Medi-Account were about $36,000. So we net about $170,000 by working with them. So they are well worth what they charge us. And they take a percentage. It's not a flat cost. It would be similar. They're estimating there's probably another $60,000 to maybe $70,000 to be had out there through federal reimbursements. But instead of Ohio ponying up the 1/3, it would be us. It's actually, we can opt out of it at any point. If we look at a quarter's worth of returns and decide it's not worth it, we can opt out. There's no penalties. We're not beholden to it. I did ask the representative if any other entities are choosing not to opt in. He said the only entities that they've talked to that are not opting in are ones that don't meet until after October 1st. So in order for us to be at the table and receive revenue in 26, we have to opt in by October of 24. Seems insane to me, but that's how federal programs work. So it's kind of like a matching grant, honestly. We pony up this amount. If they don't collect money, we don't spend it. So we just put a purchase order out there for an amount. And
is that something you would check quarterly to see how?
Yeah, we will monitor it and see how it is, and see how it's going at that point. So that will be a resolution to amend our current and existing agreement with Medi-Account Management to allow for this supplemental ambulance. It's called the Ambulance Supplemental Payment Program. And
let me ask you a
Sure.
short question about that. If someone is let's say they don't have insurance or they're hard pressed to pay for medical transport?
It doesn't get pursued.
Okay.
We don't go after residents. We
Okay.
go,
Okay, that's what I was
and
gonna ask.
I mean,
that terminology is not great. I apologize for how harsh that sounds, but Medi-Cal pursues payments through insurance companies.
Okay.
And then they do write off a fair amount. If you are a Ross resident, they don't pursue it. If you are driving through and you belong somewhere else, I believe they do try to get payments, but they do write off a fairly significant amount. And we get an annual report from them every year, and I can, the next time we get one, I can share it just so you kind of see this is what I'm talking about. But we do not go after residents.
Okay.
They don't hound.
Yeah.
They don't do collections.
That was gonna be
for
my
residents.
question, is this a resident, non-resident?
Yeah.
Because if that was already being taxed. and
Correct.
I wouldn't want to,
Correct.
okay, if it's not a
But-
resident.
I don't want people feeling like they can't take a transport.
No, and
For
if, and
financial
really, if you have insurance, your insurance is paying for it. That's why you have insurance. So,
But some don't. And,
right.
you know,
And
I've heard people personally say that it costs me
Correct.
too much to go. I'm like, we can't do that.
no,
Okay.
we,
All right.
and it is a good, it's a pretty big portion of the fire and EMS revenue budget. That Medi-Cal revenue stream is pretty significant. So this would just be an extension of that, but we would have some skin in the game, for lack of a better term.
Okay, okay, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so that's all I have for you this evening, so move on.
Julie, in order to financially allow for the receipt of funds received for the local community allocation known as ARPA SLURF funds awarded by the Butler County Board of Commissioners for disparate populations within Ross Township, and to mitigate the needs of the underserved, funds must be added to the 2024 financial budget. This resolution adds those funds. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-055, amending revenue in a fund and requesting an amended certificate of estimated resources from the Butler County Auditor. Need a second?
You have one?
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Young,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee McGurran,
Yes. Purpose to amend the agreement with Medi-Cal Management Incorporated to include revenue enhancement services for ambulance supplemental payment program. Move for the adoption of resolution number 2024-056, amending Ross Township Board of Trustees resolution number 2018-017. Need a second?
You have one?
Discussion? Roll call?
trustee Young,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee McGurran.
Yes. Purpose would be a meeting date change. Move for the adoption of motion number 24-125 to approve changing the date of the Thursday, October 3rd regular meeting to Wednesday, October 2nd due to a conflict with Ross High School homecoming parade. Need a second?
You have one?
Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Young,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee McGurran,
Yes. Discussion items, confirmation of trick or treating to be held on Thursday, October 31st from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock PM. Anything to discuss on that?
I think it's part of them can still go out to the community and serving.
as does the police.
Yeah, please do that.
Historically, they both are out and about.
Okay, good.
Uh,
PR going.
Any other further discussion about the flooring for the administration building?
I just need some guidance as I begin to get the, the amount for the budget for next year, exactly what the board has in mind. The fiscal officer discussed possibly using the squares in case we need to just replace a portion. How much of the building do you want new flooring in? I just would like a little bit of direction as I begin to
I say
investigate.
break it up, meeting room area and then the office area, so we can pick and choose.
Yeah, I would think, I personally don't think my office needs new carpet. I don't get that many people in.
Slurp, slurp.
Yeah, and I have a mat under my desk. But out here where it's I mean, this is kind of the face of our public space and it's,
Eyesore.
yeah, very much so. And I don't know if that includes this little platform. I assume it would, just so it's consistent.
And I'd get a good wearing carpet, not so much a pile, just a good
I would
commercial
think that
carpet.
this is commercial. Wouldn't you think this is
Yeah.
commercial grade?
Yeah. And I think it's I don't think it's attractive, but I didn't pick it, but,
It doesn't get worn, it's not worn out.
it's not,
By
the
our
only
chairs.
place up there is the
Yeah.
damage where it was under the fire truck and then the police cruiser and
Yeah.
it's,
I'd look for some mauve color. It'll go well with it.
or reddish orange.
Is that ever coming back? Are any cars ever going to be back here?
No, I'm going to also for next year's budget, get pricing on a conference table and chairs for there. I think, at times when you have meetings, it's a little more conducive to sit around a table and discuss as opposed to
Maybe even
set up.
a whiteboard, or, something, a projector of some type. Oh, maybe even that could be moved over there. Okay. I think that squares are good, but I think maybe somebody could bring a few
Different options.
How long
options.
do they last, actually?
No.
Do they start pulling up in the corners?
No, we had them at the county buildings and they worked rather well. And then if there was an incident or something unfortunate,
Flip a square.
you pull up a square and you usually have some in reserve.
Yeah.
The only problem is we do have sun
Right.
in here, but I don't know that I can honestly say I think the utilities have been any different. But we went through the whole summer with the shades down. It was a lot more pleasant in here overall. And temperature wise, it was a little more regulated, I think. So,
Good. We didn't spend the money for the reflective, bulletproof
I
reflective.
think something darker is probably a little better.
they'll give us some
stain-wise. But
options.
yeah,
And then they'll look at our, we don't have a lot of color scheme going on, but we do have some
Mhm.
that we need to be mindful of.
Make it red, because red brings the anger out of people.
Oh, gee.
Just liven up our meetings a little bit. Come on,
I
we're
guess
getting
we
kind of
won't
boring
know.
here.
I guess it's gonna be square footage
So
is gonna be the
This
main.
May-
3 yards. Yeah.
area, not offices.
Where do you draw the line? Do you go?
I'm pretty
through the-
sure if we took my desk apart, it wouldn't make it being
Yeah,
put
I
back
don't-
together.
I don't think mine would, although I would love to have my desk taken apart so I could move some, I have some things that have fallen that are just never, ever gonna come home. But it's not important. But where do you stop? Do you go all the way down the hallway to the bathroom?
I wouldn't.
Or just go, where do you stop?
Right.
I mean, obviously, the admin's desk area is inclusive.
maybe we can just have McSwain and that place over there on Hamilton Avenue to stop out, or
We'll get a couple different, I would think, and have them,
see how much it is for,
and they might have some
Everything.
suggestions.
and then
So breaking it down.
we can piece it from there.
Because they also may suggest putting in some sort of
Runner.
divider that goes through that cuts that hallway off. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else from the board?
I guess we could talk about the meeting Tuesday.
Good.
So we went to the appeals zoning meeting and they stated their case. And then Russ and I looked at it as, I look at it this way. We have residents and we have retail people. But they're there for us too. And we're there for them. We should be. So rather than shutting it down where they wouldn't get it, they agreed to take the sidewalk, move it over. They would take full responsibility of that sidewalk. Russ wanted to make sure we would never be liable for any repairs or maintenance of it. But then I put it a little bit further. I wanted to make sure, which the lawyer for the zoning department agreed what they could do, is make sure it stays with the property. So they'll make an amendment for it where it attaches, so if it ever changes hands, it stays with the property. We will never, ever be responsible for it. So it was passed. They got their
Oh,
variance.
good.
Nor does it set a precedent for us being responsible for any sidewalk
In the future.
ever. or at least because of that.
I wonder if we're the first community that's ever pushed back against ODOT on that contract.
Shouldn't.
They also, Mr. Budo also wanted it to make sure that the contract, I think, was signed between Butler County Water and Sewer, that the installation of the sidewalk was contingent upon them signing that contract that was already, I think, put up by the owners of the property currently. So, as long as we're not responsible for it. They were told by both of us rather forcefully that we don't want to be responsible for that sidewalk, period. And I think Mr. Salmon got the point pretty good. Drove that one in pretty hard. Okay, public participation. Any public participation tonight? Nope. Okay,
We need red carpet.
Move for the adoption of motion number 24-126 to retire to executive session to discuss the employment or compensation of a public employee in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1. And the time is
6:22.
6:22. Need a second?
You got one?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Young,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee McGurran,
Yes. There will be nothing else discussed when we're done with executive session. We will just move to close the meeting. Thank you all.
October 2nd.
Next meeting is October 2nd, which is on a Wednesday. That is a date change at 6 PM here at the administration building, and that will be a regular meeting. My son.
Then the 3rd.